Nick. And with me in studio this morning, I have my co-host, Mr. Roland Bola. Good morning, Mr. Bola.
Good morning to you, Miss Duncan. It's a beautiful Monday morning. It's a little warm outside, not hot, just warm. We had some early morning showers up my neck of the woods, St. Andrew's side. I don't know what it was like in St. George's, but they're just about 4 o'clock into the 5 o'clock hour. We did get some shower. Very good for the plants. I hope those who are into the farming business, very happy. Good morning to all our listeners. Good morning, Carriacou. Good morning, Petit Martinique, St. Vincent, all of the Eastern Caribbean islands. Grenada, big and large Spice Island. I understand that we got one more positive case, or there is now a positive case. So
Imported, of course.
Yes, it's imported. But, it goes on to show that we cannot be over protective, that we always have to be on our guard. As our parents would say, be on our P's and Q's. Yes, I don't know how P's and Q's, how you can manage to be on that, but I think the essence of it is meaning that we need to be vigilant, we need to be always ready, always be prepared, take the necessary precaution, follow the protocols, be responsible, as we oftentimes say. I hope most of us did that for the weekend. I do hope. There are some unfortunate news that I guess we discussed about that has transpired over the weekend, but all in all, I really do hope that Grenadians, by and large, at home and abroad, in the diaspora, wherever you may be, had a safe weekend, made prudent decisions, especially those who have not yet taken the opportunity to go get vaccinated, that they would have had some kind of family conversation, they would have had some introspection, they would have had a discussion with people in the know, and have gotten an opportunity to make their minds up to do the correct thing. Whatever it is that you've done over the weekend, I hope that it was a blessed one for relaxation, rejuvenation, and of course, that you are ready to face another week of work. And that those of you who have to work, or those of you who have a work, that you got there on time and you're already producing.
That is our hope for everyone for the week. Well, Mr. Bola, does really have a lot of hopes in the morning?
Well, of course. I live with hope. I don't live in hope.
You live with hope.
I live with hope.
I like that. Yeah, well, Mr. Bola, we have a lot to talk about this morning. There are a lot of topics of discussion. And, of course, a lot of what we discuss will surround vaccination, will surround COVID-19, because that seems to drive a lot of decisions being made, not just here in Grenada or in the region, but internationally as well. Governments are making decisions with COVID-19 in mind. It seems like COVID-19 didn't just come to affect our health, but it came to affect our decision-making processes as well. So there are a lot of things that we need to talk about. Starting with, I know last week you mentioned it briefly, and I had some conversation again on it this morning. The export of fish from Grenada now being the season, the height of the season actually, when fishermen make the most profit in terms of their trade. It seems to be a difficult time for them.
Well, I don't want to go as far as you to say make the most profit, because I'm not sure about the profitability. I understand that fishing, especially the long liners, as we refer to them in Grenada, meaning those who may go out for 2 or 3 days, those who go out there and fetch the tunas and the blue marlin, I think there's one called that, and the sailfish and what have you. Some of the exportable species, it is the high season, it is the time they get the most sale, it is the time they get the better catch. So it's expected that they will pull in more money at this time. I have not been doing accounting for any one of them, so in terms of the level of profitability, that I'd leave for them to decide for themselves. But I made mention of it from the standpoint that I am aware that they do have, and well, not necessarily the fishermen, but the exporters, the people who purchase from the fisher folks, and will prepare for export, have they've been having some challenges as it relates to flights in terms of the regularity of the flights, one, but also the space made available, because most of these cargo leave Grenada via Amerijet, which is a cargo line. But my understanding is that by the time it gets to Grenada, it would have made 2 or 3 stops in other islands, St. Vincent being one of those. Oftentimes Trinidad, and then it gets to Grenada, right, to pick up the last end of the products that they can take, and then fly back up to the U.S. My understanding is that by the time they get to Grenada, they are mostly filled. So the space available on the vessel, well, the aircraft, sorry, would be very limited. Right. And that limited space, when they get to Grenada now, has to be shared between or among the fresh fruit exporters and the fisher. Mm-hmm. So you have fruits like soursop being a number one fruit for export. There are many other things. I am not sure, but someone did mention to me recently that they're back into golden apple export. I know we used to have a thriving trade with that, and then there was the was it a worm? There was something that was affecting the fruit. Right. And as a result, we were unable to ship golden apples. A lot of trials were being done, tests as to how they can clear or protect the fruit by CARDI, hot water treatment and other things. One of the other things was that we probably should ship the green ones as opposed to the ripe or turning ripe ones, because that is when the worms, I think, actually affects it when it was turning. So that needs to be verified, but I think someone did say so. We're moving into avocados now. Avocados are just beginning to come in. And there are people who export the mangoes, and so there are a lot of fresh fruits that are being exported. The marketing board have been doing a bit, and you have a lot of private exporters of the soursop, which is a big thing in Grenada now, quite a few $1 million. As a matter of fact, the U.S. market alone for fresh soursop is over $300 million. Mm-hmm. That's the U.S. market. Canada, the Europe, they will take if we are able to supply. Right. I don't know that our supply to the U.S. market has been saturated as yet. Mm-hmm. I still believe there's a lot of room, and we can see it on the ground that a lot more people, a lot of farmers are getting into soursop production, and as a result, a lot of purchasers are out there. You see a lot of vans passing with, they have this, they refer to it as a picker. Mm-hmm. It's a locally made stuff to harvest the soursop, so you don't climb the trees.
It's like a basket.
Yes, something like you got a good strong bamboo or really good strong stick that can
with
take
a
the
basket
weight.
Thing at the end.
There's a wire sort of thing that they do. They use like a 1/4-inch steel, and it's kind of curved on the edge, and there's a bag that they fit. So when you put up that stick, you can hook and pull, and it falls into that bag, so it doesn't smash and get, crashed on the ground and so. So you have that, and then you have the fisher folks, like we say. A lot is being left back because of lack of space and so. So what has been happening, from my understanding, is that a lot of these longliners, these fisher folks, after making the catch, knowing the difficulty in Grenada, and it's not that the exporters don't want to purchase from them. It has nothing to do with the quality, although you can always improve the quality that your land or price or anything like that. It's just the inability to get it out of Grenada. Because also, while Amerijet was the main aircraft that moved, you had like Virgins and American Airlines, and so while they are passenger vessels, they would take a couple of kilos when they're leaving. But the fact that they don't flying as often as they used to, because of the COVID period, British Airways don't come at all, and they too would have taken some to England, Air Canada. So the different passenger airlines were taking a bit. So it was filling in where Amerijet couldn't take. Not much flights coming in, once a week, sometimes every other week, as the case may be. Why? COVID-19. And that is why we always say here on this program from the onset that taking the COVID-19 vaccine is not only for your protection medically, but it also has an economic impact in that the more of our people that become vaccinated, the world take notes of it.
Yeah.
That is why the US and England and those places are able to blacklist countries. That is why they give warnings to the people and say, no, if you're going to travel into the Caribbean, these are the best islands you must go into because they have a significant sum of the population vaccinated. These ones you need to be careful with because they are way back on the line, you know, and all of those things in terms of vaccination. So an encouragement to get vaccinated is an encouragement to put people back to work.
Right.
Because this is what? The more of these aircraft that start coming in, or the regularity, it means more export for our fish, more export for our fresh vegetable because there's more space available now. Mm-hmm. And so our fisher folks will have a greater opportunity to sell the fish here. What they do now, some of them, is go all the way down to Trinidad. Some goes to St. Vincent because the aircraft pass those places before it gets to Grenada. We are 40 south.
Right.
So they get the exporters in St. Vincent and Trinidad gets a better opportunity to export. Yeah. So our guys now must burn petrol and risk because St. Vincent and Trinidad very, very COVID-19
and
positive.
And as we know, Trinidad is making moves to open to some extent by the 12th of July. Now, what does this mean for our fishermen? It means that now they will have more incentive to go to Trinidad and sell what they have because they are able to. Right now, they're not able to. So whenever they go, it's probably to meet some women halfway and do that.
I don't know how the transaction sticks.
but now they have the ability to go from here to Trinidad because there isn't that barrier, that restriction anymore for them to do that. Now, what does that mean for us here in Grenada?
Well, it means a lot of things. There are a lot of consequences. One, no fault of the fisher folks, right? And I want to make that absolutely clear that I'm not leveling blame against them. I'm just speaking about what is happening, right?
Right.
But here you have loss of income for a number of people because when our exporters here of fresh fish are able to purchase and ship, a lot more people get into action. So at the fish plants, you would have people getting employment because these fish have to be offloaded, have to be prepared, have to be iced, have to be boxed, have to be chilled. Transporting them to the airport, you need transportation, cold storage trucks, so you need the driver will have work, the people who work on the truck with him. You would have loaders like ASG on the airport,
right.
Would fall into line getting work done and having a cost to their service. Airport authorities, Ministry of Agriculture, where you have the officers having to issue phytosanitary certificates and so for the export and, a number of things, whatever little taxes inland revenue will collect and whether it's export duties or licenses that the exporters have to pay. But there will be more movement in the economy, so to speak. But added to that, remember, government subsidize the fisher folks. So there's a rebate for gas, the amount of petrol that they use to go out and fish, and so there is a return of, I think, the taxable amount, whether it's 100% or 50% of whatever taxes was paid on the amount of petrol that they use, they get that as a refund. And the government do that because government has to set an enabling environment for job creation. Because the expectation is that, look, it appears as though government is losing money by paying you back the duties on the petrol, but the more fish you bring in and the more activity there is, the more people get a bite, you know? The trickle-down effect is much greater. So when government does that, it's not because they're losing, but because they're creating an environment for more people to get a bite. Now, when we cannot ship from Grenada due to the inability of flight, and that fish is taken to St. Vincent and Lucia, or Trinidad, sorry. Yes, the fisherman gets paid for his fish because he sells. But all the other people who were supposed to get a bite as a result of him selling fish didn't get it.
Right.
Yes?
Right.
So we are not in a winning situation anyhow we look at it. Right? So we need to do more as a country to see what else can we do. I'm not saying to move away from Amerijet, but my understanding is that they have different size of aircraft that they use. So if it means that there must be some kind of subsidy, I don't know. I'm just throwing that out by government, along with the agent, to get them to bring a smaller vessel directly into Grenada.
Right.
You know, so you fly a smaller plane,
transport goods straight out of Grenada,
directly into Grenada, and move our stuff. Once you can get sufficient cargo to fill it to go back up. One of the things that was said to me by an exporter, though, is that what they refer to as southbound cargo leaving the U.S. coming down to Grenada is very limited.
Right.
And maybe that's part of the reason why Amerijet goes to St. Vincent and Trinidad before they come to Grenada.
Okay.
Because it's like a two-way trade for them.
Right.
They bring in goods
and then they
for
take goods
the
to go
importers
out.
and they take goods to go back.
Right.
So that does two things.
Create more space.
It's two things it does for Amerijet. Is that you don't fly an empty plane when you're coming down. So you are making money on the trip down,
right?
And you're making money on the trip back up,
right?
Because you're bringing down cargo and you're going up with cargo, right? So that can cause them to cut rates for the islands because, okay, let's just use an example. I'm not very good in that area, but let's use an example. If it costs, and this is an example, and I don't want anyone quote that as saying it's factual, $5 as freight or the cost to ship out 5 pounds of fish out of Grenada, right? But in coming into Grenada, the aircraft is able to bring in goods that probably 5 pounds of that goods would cost $5 as well.
Right.
So a round trip for the plane coming in and going out is $5 per pound, or for 5 pounds, so $1 a pound. But if you bring in, you can always charge 50 cents or 60 cents coming in, 60 cents going out. It means that you end up with $1.20 for the round trip. While it costs, and I hope I'm not confusing anybody, if it costs $1 a pound for the airline to make profit, to fly in and fly out of Grenada. Now, if you're coming in empty, it means that you must charge $1 a pound when you're flying out with load. But if you are bringing in and you're going out, it's still $1 per pound per trip. That's what it costs you to do the trip. So if you're bringing in, you can take 50% on what you're bringing and 50% on going out, or a little more, so you can make a little more money, but it costs the exporter less to ship. So my understanding is that there is not a lot of southbound traffic, load goods, items coming in when the vessel is coming in for Grenada, because we do a lot more of our shipping by sea. in terms of import, which is cheaper though.
Yeah.
It's a little more expensive to ship things by air.
By air.
But if we were having a bit
faster but more expensive.
Faster but more expensive. So if we was having a bit more cargo coming in, maybe that would have created a better situation for us. But we don't have that, so we have to find new ways, innovative ways of making sure that we get a cargo vessel or get other planes coming in that can bring the cargo out.
Mm-hmm. And then we also spoke about the different categories. You want the fresh fish, and of course, if you ship it by cargo, it's no longer fresh. It's you have to ship it frozen, right? Because of the time frame that it takes to get from one place to the next and all of that. So there are a lot of different factors involved.
And then the price you get.
Yes.
Because they pay premium price for quality, best quality, fresh. Ice pack, not frozen. There's a difference between frozen fish and ice pack fish. Frozen fish goes into the freezer, comes out all hard and frozen. Once that is done, once it has to go into the freezer and come back out, the price immediately start going up. But the fresh fish is the fish. You take it off the vessel, the boat, the fishing boat. You take whatever out, you got it or whatever you have to do, and it's packed with ice.
Right.
Inside and all around in some special boxes that can keep it chilled.
Right.
So it's chilled, it's not frozen. So when it gets onto the market, it's still fresh, premium price. Okay. And that is why it is necessary to have a fast, movement from Grenada to there, non-stop. It's not like a cargo plane where a passenger plane where you have to make several stops and it takes several hours. You have the cargo plane, it picks it up here, bam, to the next destination. Cold storage truck, it's shipped. It's to the supermarket. So we really hope it's something that will augur well for us because our farmers will benefit tremendously. A lot of farmers are complaining now that they're actually losing money in that. It's also becoming the high time for source of production. And since there's that lack of space and regularity of cargo vessel, the guys who purchase to ship, the exporters, don't purchase as often.
Right.
There was a time when twice per week or so, they may get a flight, so they would have to purchase. Now, maybe once every 2 weeks, twice a month, as the case may be, and then they limit the amount.
Right.
So a guy who has a pretty nice field that is producing hundreds of pounds, the pickers will come but tell him, look, we're here, we're going to take some because we have a limit on the amount we can pick. But because we have several other farmers that we deal with, we could give you a 40 pounds, we could give you a 50 pounds, and give somebody else a 10 and a 20. So it's not working out for us in any way at all. Everybody along the chain gets affected in a negative way.
So a lot of sacrifices are being made. That is absolutely clear because one must sacrifice for the other so that everybody can benefit. And it's basically similar to what was being said when there was the argument of the 4% and the salary increases about sharing the resources of the state equitably so that everybody is able to get a slice and put a slice aside just in case for things that you did not cater for in the immediate, but happen to come up as a result of the situation. These are all things that you can't put all your eggs in one basket and then when you reach all eggs break, you can't do nothing, you understand? So it's a sacrifice for everybody. The fishermen are making a sacrifice, the farmers are making a sacrifice, everyone is making a sacrifice when it comes to dealing with this situation. And that is why we always say here that the economic downfall from COVID-19 is far greater than we are even seeing at this point. We have not even begun to experience what it could be like, what high unemployment rates could be like. Right now we're seeing unemployment in just the tourism sector. But what happens when the spill-off of all other sectors are affected as a result of COVID-19.
And they are affected.
And they are affected.
Of course.
They are affected. I believe it was Caribbean Airlines that announced that they'll be letting go 400 plus workers.
Yeah. Most airlines have been grounded or have very limited amount of flights, and as a result have had to either, well, in some instances, I don't know if they have totally severed their relationship with the workforce or part of the workforce, or they have just put things on hold in some cases. But if you are on hold because of economic recession, there's not much money coming into the company, you don't expect to be paid.
Yeah.
Right? So it's tremendous pressure, and all of it can be and not just can be, but there's a definite correlation between joblessness now, unemployment now, and COVID-19.
Yeah.
There's no mistake about it.
Yeah.
You can trace everything back and put it and place it at the feet of COVID-19. And that is why the experts keep saying to beat COVID-19, beat it as a virus, beat it economically, beat it socially.
Yeah.
Vaccination is the only hope that we have at this present time.
Absolutely. And it's quite unfortunate that we are looking around at all other situations and wondering, well, we are doing so good, why can't we do this and why can't we do that? And we're not willing to understand is not the right word, because we understand. We are not willing to accept and appreciate that we have to make continued sacrifices. It is not just make a sacrifice now and then everything get good and then we go back to the way we were. It is not about that. It is about understanding and appreciating that continued sacrifices need to be made to keep us where we are. I believe it was sometime during this weekend I read an article that indicated that the UK is currently, the UK, the producers of Oxford AstraZeneca is, they started creating a booster shot to battle with the Delta variant that they had first identified in South Africa. They have begun now testing of that booster shot. Now, what does this mean for us? It means that a lot of us that have already been vaccinated are looking at down the line having to get a booster shot. Now, why is this happening? It's happening because the more people that are unvaccinated means that the more hosts are available for the virus to mutate. So you hear people asking, well, what is it? What threat does an unvaccinated person pose to a vaccinated person? The threat is significant. You yourself are responsible or will be responsible or play a part in the mutation of the virus. Every unvaccinated person is a possibility for the virus to mutate. And the more unvaccinated people that are around means that the more chances we have of getting a variant stronger than the one that first infected on the island, So we ask the question, well, why? Why are you so bothered by the fact that I am unvaccinated? Well, this is why I am bothered, because your lack of ability to understand why you need to be vaccinated is putting my life in a precarious position.
At a greater risk.
Exactly, because I can get, yes, I'm vaccinated against the variants that are before, but whom is to say that a variant that may arise from the fact that you did not get vaccinated will not be detrimental to me? So yes, I am concerned, because the more of us that get vaccinated, then the less chance we have of getting a variant that is even more deadly than the one before. And I don't think that people understand that. I don't think people appreciate that fact. Everybody is all about rights and all about I want to do what I want to do, and you shouldn't bother about my rights and what I am doing. But when you're dealing with a public health emergency, it's no longer your rights, it's our rights. All our rights become one. We are all going for the same common goal, which is to ensure that we are not up at a place in Grenada where we had to fight up, Mr. Bola, fight up to survive, fight up to thrive, fight up to make $1, all because of one simple thing. So now we have a variant that is Delta Plus, which means that now we're going to have to get a booster shot. All of us who had made that effort to go out there and get vaccinated, we have to now go and get vaccinated again to fight against that
and new variant.
Exactly. And I mean, it's very unfair. It's very unfair, honestly, for us to some of us to be doing everything that we can do to make sure that the people who are not able to be vaccinated can survive, to make sure that we get back to a place where we need to be. And yet there are others out there who are just very unbothered and think that their unbotheredness doesn't affect anybody else.
Is that a new word? Or a good word?
Is that a new one?
Unbotheredness.
Unbotheredness.
I mean, I use new words, and I know you want to match up with me, but I make you verify them and see that they are good words. And
I ain't trying to match up with you.
Well, anyway, unbotheredness.
Unbotheredness.
Yeah, I hear that. But you know, Mr. Duncan, today is Monday, really, and we normally open lines very early on a Monday to
look at that 20 to 11 already.
Allow people, the public, the listeners, to have the say, because it was weekend. And it's a time when sometimes a lot of little things happen in little nooks and crannies in different villages.
Not a lot of little things happening. Some big things happened this weekend.
Yeah.
That we need to talk about.
Big like what?
Some big things. Well, I understand that there was some activity in Maribor over the weekend that was very unpleasant, especially for our law enforcement.
People taking out their clothes and walk naked and things like that? Unpleasant.
Well, no, it was unpleasant for law enforcement.
Okay.
No, the law enforcement were called to shut down an event that was taking place in Maribor. I think it was close to the 12 o'clock hour, so the curfew had not yet arrived.
Kicked in. Okay.
But you want to leave time for persons to be off the road by 12 o'clock. And that is really what the curfew means to do, to get people off the road by the time they're supposed to be off the road. Not to shut down activities by 12 o'clock, but to get you off the road by 12 o'clock.
Yep.
So they arrived at the event to shut it down, and they were greeted with stones and bottles.
Again,
Mr. Bola. Again.
Well, that is rather unfortunate. Rather unfortunate. I've been hearing some little whispers, but nothing concretized, yes? So I don't know that I am an authority to speak on the event itself. But if the occurrences or the exchanges between the law enforcement officers and the villagers are true, I really believe that the time has come for some stiffer harder adjustments to be made, if I can say that. And I'm saying that from the standpoint that we are seeing that trend developing.
Yes.
I've heard of clashes with the police or the armed forces and the people before, like during the era of Sir Eric.
Yes.
In the very early days. It was my understanding that he had some special squads. They referred to some as the Green Beasts, and then the Mongoose Gang, and so who were specially trained people or specially employed people to deal with this kind of rebellious people. I don't know that we have that same kind of attitude these days in terms of or that sort of force within the police. But if my memory takes me back into last year up until this time, first we saw some very unfortunate and ugly looking incidents occurring in Guelph.
Yes.
Because there was some pushback, people versus police. It took skill, it took experience for issues not to have escalated and exploded into a sort of civil war kind of thing. The police had to, what you call that, simmer down a bit. You needed people of good intent and understanding to speak to the populace in Gov, to calm them a bit, and to have the whatever those issues were, to have them ironed out. And the scenes were not very pretty.
They're quite similar.
The outcome, though, was that there was no great incidents. It was not too long ago, it was earlier on this year.
In River Sally.
When we saw, again, similar to what you're talking, the police going to lock down some nighttime activities that was going or getting close to the time for curfew. And some of these activities are activities that people did not seek the permission to have. And the police were greeted with bottles and stones as well. I think 3 or 4 of them had to nurse injuries, while not very serious. I think one was even taken to the Princess Alice Hospital in Maribor to seek some medical attention and so. And, we are beginning to see, and now you're saying that last night at Maribor itself, the police was called in or had to move in again to close down an activity that was getting close to the curfew time. Now, what is it that makes us as a people believe that we are supposed to act lawless and senseless? Because in my mind, and maybe I am the only one who have that in mind, because as I say, I can't speak on the incident in particular. I wasn't there, and I don't believe that I have enough of an information to make a judgment. I'm speaking of the end result. Once you are going to attack the police, to me that doesn't make a lot of sense, because the police, at some point in time, the law enforcement officers will have to defend themselves, and the law gives them that right. The right, then you hear the cry of police brutality, and the police is advantageous, and the police is what have you. Without much of us taking a closer look into what would have brought the police to the point of having to use excessive force, of having to fire bullets after people, of having to shoot someone. Did the police just march in and start shooting? Or was it because of the actions of the people, the massive, that brought a reaction from the armed forces? And I really do not want, and I hope not, that we're going to continue with that kind of an approach and that antagonistic sort of approach, police versus civilian, to take us down a bloody road. Because eventually that's where it may end. Either side can get bloody. The police can start saying, well, look, we have been attacked repeatedly. And we must put up some kind of resistance and show that we are the powers that are supposed to enforce whatever laws are in place. And so we are going to make an example of some people. I hope it doesn't come to that. Neither should the populace feel, well, we have been using bottles and stones, and that seems not to stop them in the track from coming to lock us down when we're having our good times and our activities. So let's take it one notch higher. Let's start using sticks. Let's start using cutlasses. Yes, let's start using guns. I hope it doesn't come to that, because it would be a very sad day. It's already a sad occurrence for people to be attacking the police while they're on duty.
Destroyed.
That is what I understand.
Police had to send warning shots into the air and all of that, just to quell whatever was happening. Now, I want us to look at just a little bit deeper into that, Mr. Bola, because here we have some activities that are taking place that seem to be provocations. Mr. Bola. I'll give you another example. Over the weekend, in the Tivoli La Porterie area, there was another incident where individuals saw it fit to behave or to participate in carnival-like behavior in the streets. Now, mind you, it's not such a problem if you have 10, 15, 20 people deciding they want to do that. They're all vaccinated. You're sure. But what was very concerning is, one, you don't know who these people are in terms of what their status is as it relates to vaccination. But alarmingly so, there were a lot of children involved. Children under the age of 18, some of them babies barely able to walk on their own. Some of them looked like preschool age children. Some looking like children just transitioning into secondary school. I mean, it was very, very, very disturbing. And I call these things provocations because they know that it is against the protocols. They understand that it is against the protocols. And when you know that something is wrong and you go ahead and do it anyway, it means that you are trying to solicit some sort of response. Now, I don't know if their hopes were that the police would come and it would turn into some sort of altercation. I don't know if they were just doing that to show that we are defiant against whatever it is that the administration has put in place to protect us. I don't know what the reasoning behind it was. But what I do know is that these kinds of activities are unacceptable. So much so that the risk involved is too great. Because you have such a wide cross-section of people involved in such an activity. You have children from primary, secondary school, men and women working at different places and so on. Now, let us just play devil's advocate and use Barbados as an example. Over the weekend, Barbados identified 3 clusters. 3 clusters because over the past few weeks they have been doing well. They have had cases that were already existing, so they didn't have an influx of new cases. So they thought that they were doing well, right? They're doing great. We have no new cases. We could start opening up for our people. We have a high intake of vaccination and so on, so we can, free up for our people a little bit, allow them to party, allow them to have a good time. Boom. 3 clusters in which 29 persons are involved. Some of the persons involved include school children. Now, just imagine this. In Grenada, happening here, one of the places in Barbados with a cluster, 2 clusters family related, another cluster is a manufacturing plant. Now imagine that translated to us here in Grenada. And let's just go back again and imagine, not just imagine, but reminisce on that cold that we had just not so long ago, that spread like wildfire through our schools. Imagine now if that is translated to COVID-19. These situations that we are creating in our own country. Just think about it for a moment, and I want people to think about it. We are creating these situations are not being created by the administration or a lack of discipline among the protocols or a lack of enforcement of the protocols. That's not what's happening. It's basically our people being defiant and creating these environments for possible outbreak in Grenada.
It's a sad thing, eh? It's sad that, one, and in saying all of that and in trying to analyze, we have to accept that the younger generation is and will always be very energetic, full of life, and being in a situation of lockdown is never the best for them.
Yes.
They like to be very self-expressive. Old man like me don't worry about whether there's a party or not. If the drum beat, I mean, if I'm close enough, I could still shake, I could do a thing, but I mean, it don't move me as it would move a young person. So we have to be cognizant of that. Lawmakers must understand that. And while I accept that lawmakers must understand that, must know that, and must put the measures in place that would allow for some level of freeing up and utilization of all of that energy, one has to be careful, because the avenue through which it can become safe for our people to do that has been downright rejected. It is getting vaccinated. So if this host of young people, wherever they are, in La Poterie, in Tivoli, in Maribo, in River Valley, in Guave, in St. David's, wherever they are, that has that energy bubbling in them and feel that the administration must give a chance and an opportunity to them, use that same energy and say to your friends and your followers and let's get vaccinated, so it will put us in a position where we have nothing to fear to.
Yeah.
Where we can go ahead and jump a job, play a mass, have a block code, do whatever, where you can assemble 40, 50 or 60 people, because all of you in that grouping are vaccinated, so there's nothing to worry about. So we reject the one thing at this time that can make it easy and safe for us. And we feel, some of us, that we are strong enough, bad enough, and capable enough to just be disorderly, to break the law. And then when the law enforcement officers come to bring back some respectability, you go up in arms against them, you stone them, you smash the vehicle windscreen, you mash up glass, side glass, and I mean, is that to make you feel that you're the boss, that you're in charge? Or are you being influenced by other forces unseen?
Well,
I mean, there's a lot of little whispers about that. Some people hell-bent on creating unrest and wanting to see these sort of things escalate so that there can be clashes between the police and the masses. And they can turn around and blame authorities. You're hearing those things on the ground. But I think we are sensible enough. This is our homeland.
It is.
Grenada belongs to all of us. And it needs all of us hand in hand to protect it and to do things properly. And don't say that you have to like the government or you have to vote for the party that is in office. The time will come when every one of us who is prepared to get involved in the political process will get a chance to vote and determine whether we want to keep this government or get rid of it. But until that time comes, the new National Party is the one that has won the election, and its people are the ones that are governing. So the time will come when you will get an opportunity to change if you want to. But why do we need to portray and put out to the rest of the world that we are the most disorderly and disobedient people? I mean, in the world today, we are the only ones that are having industrial action for wage increase at this time. During a pandemic. Do we want to start again and be the number one in the world for people who lack understanding and sensibility, and look at what we're doing and look at how we're stoning vehicles? I mean, it's almost barbarous to see.
An individual on the live video just made a comment, and I had to look up the meaning of what he said, because I've never heard of that before. And it reads, the law has to be enforced with brute force, else the broken window theory will engulf Grenada within the next 20 years. There will be no go zones for citizens in various communities if this criminal mission creep isn't eradicated. And I had to look up what broken window theory is, because this is the first time I'm hearing of that. And it's actually a criminological theory that states that visible signs of crime antisocial behavior, and civil disorder creates an urban environment that encourages further crime and disorder, including serious crimes. Now, if we look back or look just around us, Trinidad is a very clear example of that, where things were left untended until it was out of control. Now that you have to that they're trying to gain that control back, it is proven difficult to the point where there is a zero tolerance kind of behavior from the police. We are way too small in Grenada for that kind of activity, right? Because if we go to a zero tolerance behavior by police or initiative taken by policemen, we so small it might almost come across as a communist country. You understand? So we do not want that to happen, but there's a lot of heavy provocation of law enforcement happening. And I feel like with this happening, there needs to be a very consistent zero tolerance approach for breaking the rules as it relates to COVID-19. There should be a no exception policy in place. Because you don't want these miscreants to turn around and say, oh, well, look, we do this and they do that and you give them this and we get that. No. Across the board, penalty enforcement.
Agreed.
Because it's unfortunate that people like myself and yourself, Mr. Bola, we're doing all we can to protect our families, to protect the people around us, including making that decision to get vaccinated because we have persons in our households who cannot under any circumstances. For these kind of things to happen and take away the progress that we have made. Because we have made a progress. Almost 2 months we have not had a case of COVID-19. The world is looking at Grenada, smiling on us, because we are achieving things that first world countries cannot achieve.
Yep, that's true.
We are doing things that countries in our region here cannot even do and do not even understand. But yet we see it. The same people that these sacrifices are being made to protect turn around and see it as people taking away their rights and freedoms.
Rights and freedom, but what's your responsibility?
What's your responsibility?
You do have rights, you do have freedom, but we all this come with great responsibility.
Absolutely.
So why are we doing the things we're doing? Why are we trying to degenerate into a population of people that have no sense of law, that has no discipline? I don't think that's who we are.
Yeah. We have a call on the line. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Duncan. Good morning, Mr. Bola.
Morning
Hi,
to
good
you,
morning.
sir.
Morning, Duncan. When what I have heard from Miss Duncan, I see that as irresponsible parents, irresponsible adults. How could you don't vaccinate, your children vaccinate, or taking your children and going to a function and putting their life in danger? Putting your life in danger. But I see as the role of a parent is to protect and to safeguard your family. And going out there, you know who is who, endangering your life and your children's life. I always say, help me with knowledge and help me wisdom is better than 10 cents foolishness. Because when you help me and to protect your family, fast shot for a 10 cents pleasure, which is, you look at the 10 cent pleasure, will be more costly and more difficult for you and your family. Because when you look at the situation, there are a lot of people, they kind of think hard, they don't work in. But you're going out there to endanger yourself, your family, and your community. That's something I have to say, how are we thinking? How are we black people thinking? Are we care, or are we demonstrating care and love for one another? You have to protect your family. And going out there, you don't know who vaccinate, who don't vaccinate. And you're going back home. Yes, you better leave your children home. But when you go, you leave your wife, go back home. Who are you going back to? That's your family? To endanger their life? You're taking outside, you go outside with them to endanger their life. And when things are the same government who is advising the people to vaccinate, stay away from them. The same government has to come back now and look after them. I call upon Grenada. Let you use wisdom. Wisdom is important. Foolishness will lead you on that broad road, it will lead to destruction and death. But if you use wisdom, you will always safeguard and protect your family. So, Mr. Uncle, Mr. Bola, I call upon the Grenadian people. Safeguard yourself for the short-term pleasure. Yes, you go to some pleasure when you go to a party, but then the end result may be very, very hard and difficult for you and the family and for your neighbors. All right? Leave out the party. You will sit at home, relax with the family, and have something constructed where we know that you're protecting your family and protecting your community. Go outside there with danger because you know who is who. So, Mr. Muller, you all have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You do the best you can, and thank you for your comments. Yeah, we need to protect ourselves, and we need to be more sensitive. And you know, it's mind-boggling that some of these people get involved in that. Everybody gets blamed once you were in the activity, whether you threw a stone or a bottle, or you walk with your hands swinging, you didn't do anything. The fact that you were there, you are grouped into that.
Yes.
And you retaliate in that way, in that very violent way to the police. But the next moment something happens to you or a member of your family, you call the police and you expect them to show up.
Yeah.
In the same area, in the same place where you just attacked them. I mean, let's use our wisdom a bit more. I'm not saying that you have to agree with everything they do. And there are ways in which you can address, and I must commend the police for the level of patience and tolerance. They have really been going through a tough time since this COVID thing started, and they have kept their cool. We have not heard of anyone getting seriously, messed up by the police. And so it means that the powers that be, those in authority, that they continue to speak to their subordinates and getting them to relax, even under tremendous pressure, right? And that is not nice. That is not a nice position
it isn't.
to be in.
It is not.
And I credit the Royal Grenada Police Force. I credit the men in uniform for stalking it out and still not retaliating in a very violent manner, because we don't want to see this clashing citizen versus police. We don't want the citizenry to have to always be running every time a police van is coming. We don't want the police to always have to be walking with the weapon sharp and ready. Of course they are law enforcement and they need to, but every time they're walking into a community, you see every man with gun ready to blaze. What kind of a community, what kind of a society? And for those of us, if it is true at all, that some of us are staying from behind and poking people and encouraging people to break the law and to retaliate against the police, if there is any truth in that, and of course we will know because the investigations will happen, I'm saying shame on you if you are doing that.
Yes.
Why do you want to destroy and make and create an irresponsible and disrespectful society to give you an edge politically? Don't you think that when and if you ever get into office, you would have to deal with these same people?
Yeah.
We have to be careful sometimes, for our quest for supremacy must have some rules of engagement.
And some people must understand that you are barely someone else's collateral damage on their quest to power, because that's what they call it. They call it power. We know that the people have the power, but they call it power. On their quest to the seat of leadership of this country, you are nothing but collateral damage. Because at the end of the day, when they sit behind their chairs and they poke you to do certain things, and you go ahead and do it because you feel like both of you share common interest, which is hate for the administration or hate for the government or rebelliousness against vaccination or the protocols or whatever it may be. At the end of the day, you are the one committing the offense. When you get caught, you alone stand before the judge. When you go to jail, you alone sit down in your cell.
You sure?
You have to remember that. or the little invisible people that just be walking around with them.
Sometimes more than one of them that's being sold, That's why they'll advise them to walk with a lot of Vaseline, keep the skin smooth, cream their hand and the foot. And so, so they ain't looking pale and white and so.
I don't know what to do with it today, man. Today is not the day.
No. I'm just saying that I don't believe it is always one person
in a cell.
Being in a cell.
I believe you. But some of us need to understand that we are just collateral damage in somebody else's fight for the seat of leadership.
Well, I won't be anybody's collateral damage.
I am never anybody's collateral damage.
Because when someone says jump, you don't just have to ask how high. You must also ask why.
Why I jump in? When I hit the ground, what I landing on? What will you do for me if when I land I break my foot? All these questions you have to ask. You cannot just go ahead and do something simply because you and one other person share a common goal. Some of these things are driven by a lot of hatred.
Yep, sometimes
a lot of hatred, and we need to get out of that place. Nobody can affect me, my emotion in such a way that I act so thoughtlessly at any given time. You must never allow somebody to steal your power from you, because that's what's happening, When you allow people to get you emotionally riled up in such a way that you act on that emotion, they are taking your power away from you. And a lot of people don't understand that. So we feel when we act up against the administration that we are taking power away from them. No. The persons that are allowing you to do that, the persons that are encouraging you to do that, they are taking your power away from you as an individual. So you are so blinded by emotion and by feelings that you have lost your power to determine what is best for you as a person, what decision you must make for you as an individual. So it's very unfortunate that we have gotten to a place where we are so emotionally driven and emotionally charged and so confrontational.
Very, very confrontational.
It's very unfortunate that we have gotten to that place. I have a comment or a few comments here on the live video that I want to read. One individual is saying the reason that people are engaging in these activities is that they have no respect for authority and they are not afraid of the police. And let me just say, the police are not there to be afraid of it.
No, they should not be afraid of the police.
All the police are there to do is to ensure that there is lawfulness in the land.
People should just respect the police, not be afraid of them. I mean, you can get into a conversation with the police.
Yes.
You can ask questions of the police, but you have no right at all to
be afraid of.
You shouldn't be afraid, but to throw missiles at the police,
but Mr. Bola,
especially in the performance of the duty.
Remember, last week I said we have a communication problem in this country.
Yes.
We really have a communication problem. We do not know how to speak to each other. We do not know how to have peaceful conversation.
There are too much cell phones in Grenada. The government should put a ban and take cell phones from you all. Because they're always on it, so at least stop speak to people.
That's like in India, I think it is, that they said that in a certain part in India, well, not a certain part, yes, in a certain part in India, that people would start losing cell service if they don't get vaccination. They won't have access to using their phones.
You see, long time ago when a guy had to quote a girl, they would meet up, they would go out for a drink and so. Now, They going out in a transport, the man lean outside on the car and the woman sit down inside and they quoting on the phone, you know. Sending text for one another right there in the same environment, in the same place.
Yes,
so we have lost that ability for interpersonal communication, and that's bad.
It is bad because we don't know how to relate one to another.
And to express our feelings.
Yes. And as much as people would like to believe that I can understand how you feel through text has no emotion. So I could read the text and interpret it based on how I want to read it and interpret it.
Because communication is more than just words.
It's more than just words.
It's about facial expression. It's about the gesticulations you make.
It's inflection.
That helps someone to determine what kind of mood you are in when you're speaking with them. Are you in a happy mood? An unpleasant mood? Are you angry? Are you sad? Your own facial expression, your gesticulations, your body movement, your body language. That's why they say your expressions are so loud that I can't even hear your words.
You can't hear the words. Yep. We have a caller on the line. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah. Morning, Mr. Bola.
Morning to you, sir.
Morning to the good-looking lady you have there.
Well, I have not looked at her face this much. I can't help you with that.
You're disappointing me as a man.
No, I just accept. No. I'm not disappointing you. Well, it's okay to disappoint you because I'm making my wife happy. Right?
No, you see, you put in a total different meaning to it. No, a true man will admire every single woman.
So I'm a half man.
Well, I don't know if you call yourself that way. I wouldn't.
True man.
I know you for a long time, and I wouldn't say that.
You wouldn't say that about me. Well, that's cool. Thank you.
Anyhow, however, concerning the politics, I heard you guys explaining a lot of stuff, and I want to say something, right? Now, concerning the narrative of politics, what I discover is that the truth is, a lot of us don't really understand politics. Because the fact of the matter, you're a politician and your host is a politician, right? Because you are accentuating the wishes of your political party. Because I am sure that if your political leaders say, do this or do that, you're going to obey, even if you like it or not.
Not all the time. We sometimes have discussions on issues.
However, and I'm also sure that even if there's something wrong, you would not publicly say, well, I don't like this or I don't like that.
No.
You see me? No, this is the reason why I love to discuss and I love to hear discussions, because at the end of the day, what I've discovered is a true statesman follows the dictates of his conscience and the given rules that what God gives. But here what happens is, you see, when you become a politician, then you lose power. So that's why I always tell people I'm a statesman, because at the end of the day, I have a duty to be truthful to God, first of all, to myself, and then to the nation, the people I impact to. So what happens most of the time is that we do the message and we get the message the next way around. So we thereby become confluffed, or we are confluffled, because the narrative that's sent out by most political parties is that what they say goes. But if one can assert and accumulate information and judge based upon what you see happening, it therefore means that whether NDC, NNP, or any other political party cannot really influence you, because you're so empowered that you have that knowledge based upon the judgment that you're going to cast.
Right.
So, and the next narrative in Grenada, I discover, as soon as you talk and you critique, all of a sudden, you're our opposition. Yeah. Or if you see it on the flip side, use a yellow or use a green. You know, I oftentimes meet people and tell them, get out of that, because we don't grow as a nation. We don't grow as a nation when we talk that way and react that way. We have a responsibility, you understand, as a people. And if a person is brave enough and a statesman enough, then they will give credit when the PM do good. Say, hey, wonderful job, beautiful job. Yeah. But when that same person can stay away, and when they know and they're grinding inside and they know certain things wrong and they cannot stand up and say, well, I don't agree with that person and that, it therefore means that something is wrong. Look at the American politics. You find people come on the next side of the house Remember those, how do you call those guys again? J.F. Kennedy, his uncle and all these guys and them. You see, I follow all these things. And when I look at the kind of politics we have here and the narrative that people push, that's why I have to train my children and train myself to listen. I listen to your show, you know. I listen most of the calls program in Grenada. I listen people on the air. I listen people on the radio. I'm myself a creative person because I think of different things. I'm not ready to hit the airwaves yet. But it tells me that there's something that's missing. If we take the time off to teach people what true politicking is all about and where all these concepts come from, and we understand our own values, and we're not going to be dictated by people with falsehood or who portray the dictates because they want you to think in a particular way. We know where it comes from, and it comes from the Greeks, you know. You understand? Because when the Roman Empire was disintegrated, the British Empire come into force. So they pushed their narrative to us. So we know about Aristotle, Plato, Socrates. They are the ones that we living under theories today. So we know a lot of things, reformation of words and meanings and different things. So all these things have to be understood. Because if we don't know who we are and what we are born for, then we're wasting a lot of time in the world. A man has to know his purpose. Some of us take a long time before we really discover what we are born to do, what we are called to do. You understand what I'm telling you? Because imagine Genesis tell me to subdue, you know, to dominate. And if God is my master maker, then a man was supposed to dictate to me without I being spiritually inclined and assertive to be attached to that godly implementation in your mind and your heart and your soul to tell you the right thing. So and this is the reason why back in the days, in the laws of the prophets, that's why, you remember when Samuel came to choose the king, remember Israel wanted a king?
Yeah.
And David, what happened was, remember who was the shabby one? David. Because people look at the coincidence. We look, hear what we do today. Here a big mistake we make today. We look at people's qualification in terms of the certification, and we forget Proverbs 18:14 say that your gift will make room for you. Right? Because your gift is an inherent thing that you're born with.
Right.
God give us that. Because if God is my manufacturer, why somebody, 500 billion say, only one supermarket when my mother and father had intercourse to make me, you know? So I'm very special. I am wonderful, I'm beautiful made, I'm a conqueror. You understand? So I don't have to submit to dictates. And this is the reason why I'm pushing the agenda of statesmanship. Because when we take to our political side, right, you will find that people tend to lose the sense of reasoning. I'm not saying to don't have your party. You have your choice. The NNP, NDC, whoever party, they have the choice. But let's reason things together. I don't have to always tell you right or wrong when you come and already and do your program. You know? I don't have to tell, because you're not always right or wrong. You may make some good points, certain time I may not agree. But let us reason. But we have the narrative out there. Once you say this thing, you're against two, and you're against this, and we have to get away from that. Otherwise, our nation will never go anywhere. For example, look at the revolution at 4.5 years in power. Look at the milestone that we made. Look at all the agro-industry and this and that. Government's been in power for years, whether yellow or green. What did they implement? So these are the issues that we have to look at. People want employment. People want work. Where the human infrastructure there? Where the spiritual reformation there? Where the counseling there? You know? Where? Because how you explain to me, how can a man never went to secondary school, could read and write, or he never been to university, but yet he can see things beyond? There must be a God. So if we leave out, you will hear our next thing that people talk about again, that you can't put God in that. Well, if God not in everything, then that's where we're making a mistake. It's because we leave God out. That's the reason why we leave room for mistakes, you know. It's because we don't follow the dictates of God. It's the Most High we should follow the dictates of. And if any party is in alignment to the dictates of God, it therefore means that, remember, from the head. So anything happening in Grenada is because the heads that are there is what fail. So when they do good things, you give them a credit. When they don't do good things, you critique them. We have a right to do that. Right. But we tend to get these days that as soon as you talk, Yeah, against one, against that. We need to get away from that, man. I'm fed up hearing these things because I'm a Grenadian and I want to see my country grow. I'm not scared to say if something going on good to praise, you know. But when I critique me too. So I don't have a right. Mm-hmm. Anyhow, my brother, just keep trusting God, and I hope that some of the words that I imparted, that it sting you inside your heart. so if ever there's a need and you see the need to be maybe a little more straight up with the people and frank, yes, you're doing a good job. You could speak proper. But at the end of the day, are you really dictating the truthful things of the Most High are your party? Anyhow, have a blessed one.
Thank you for your contribution. We do appreciate. I'm imparting the best that I know. If it's not truthful enough, I guess someone will tell me, because we always offer the opportunity to people to call in, and if you are dissatisfied or you're not convinced by anything, tell us, and the discussion can be held. We will not have an argument, but we'll have a discussion. So we thank you for your contribution. We do hope that you enjoy the rest of your day today. So.
Yeah. So, guys, the lines are open. I just want to make the people know that the lines are open.
Yes,
we tend to forget to say. And the number to call is 440-7377 if you're calling locally. And if you are in the diaspora and you want to give us a call, it's 347-329-3101. You can also send us a message via WhatsApp or call us via WhatsApp as well at 440-7377. There's a message on the WhatsApp that says, "Good day, Ms. Duncan and Mr. Bola. It is really alarming to hear of this situation where the government and the Ministry of Health doing so much to keep corona at minimum. I hope and call on the authorities to make examples of these individuals, because it seems to becoming a norm. They need the fullest penalty of the law. Nonsense attacking police for upkeeping the law should never be allowed." Someone on the live video is saying, just go up here, "I saw this kind of behavior. I use the word provoking, and something will have to be put in place to curb the situation, because it will be handed down from one government to the next." And that is true. Someone else is saying, "Zero tolerance across the board. This lawlessness is uncalled for." We have a caller on the line. Hello, good morning, Mr. Mills.
Good morning, and how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, good. Mr. Bola.
Good morning to you, sir. How are you?
Well, listen me, excuse me. This is a lawman from Carriacou.
Yeah?
The police is there to serve and protect.
Yes.
And if you're trying to damage the man who's serving and protect you, you open up yourself to danger.
Definitely,
That's
sir.
what them people doing.
Definitely,
So they
sir.
must stop that.
We wish they will. We wish they
I
will.
hope so too, because they're opening up themselves to danger.
We don't want the tribal war. We don't want the fight. We don't want the confusion.
You could say it again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Enjoy your day, Mr. Mills.
He gone already. Wow, just like this.
Yeah, we really have to do better when it comes to these kinds of situations, and understanding. And as the caller said, and rightfully so, we are very politically charged in this country.
Of course we are.
And at some point, regardless of whom you support as a political party, whose side you choose to be on, wrong is wrong and right is right. And therefore, if you have the skill to make the determination on what is wrong and what is right, you must be able to express both sides as well.
Of
so
course.
You can't continue to condemn and not praise. And therefore, you cannot praise and not condemn when condemnation is needed as well. So there must be a healthy balance. And that is absolutely something that we need to focus on and hone in more on a lot more. I'm just going through the live video here to see if we have any more comments for reading.
But also, we've spoken a lot, and not that we have exhausted the whole issue about these clashes, which we don't like at all. And I think any Grenadian should ever encourage it or like it. I believe that there's a lot of work for the administration to do. There's a lot of work for the churches to do. There's a lot of work for civil society to do. There's a lot of work for the police themselves to do, because they need to try and develop, despite the fact that what is happening now is very unfortunate and very ugly, through the public relations and the community policing efforts that they have been doing for a while now and trying to improve relationship with the community. They need to continue to press on with that and encourage it. I hope that these incidents that we have been seeing occurring very often now, which should not be at all, would not put the police into the mood where they, as someone said, there will be zero tolerance and no nonsense. Because zero tolerance will mean the patience and tolerance that they are exhibiting now will no longer be exhibited and then exhibited. And when that happens, it means that they will be putting up violence for violence. You attack me, I'm going to retaliate in like manner. And we know what that can lead to. I mean, we don't have to get no expert to explain that to us. We know where that can go. That road is not a very good road if you have those clashes start happening, and everyone has to become very fearful of the police, and every activity you have to look over your shoulder, because, we can any moment have some kind of confrontation. So, let's try and de-escalate, and I'm calling on the young people out there. I understand the frustration that some of you may be going through.
But the funny thing is, a lot of these people were not youthful people or people you could categorize within the youthful age. As you'd say, a youth is 35 and under.
That's the United Nations definition
of youth. Okay.
Of youth. I am a youth.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're old as you feel. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there are some younger youths than me, but I'm a youth anyway. The United Nations is 35 and under, but I don't know. I mean, I appeal. Let some good sense prevail. Yeah. Don't mess up your entire future because of one activity. Don't let your name have to be recorded as an offender of the law just because you're drinking some alcohol and you're having a good time.
Yeah.
Once in your life. Is your entire life worth destroying for an additional hour or half an hour of enjoyment? Mm-hmm. I mean, we have to really think sometimes. And my appeal is for young people to think. Yes, you don't have to be in agreement with everything that's happening, but think, is it the end of life for you, so you don't care whatever happens? Or are you just at the beginning of your life? And there'd be a lot more opportunities in your lifetime to party, to fret, to drink, to have good times. Please, I beg.
Yeah.
Do the right thing. Mm-hmm. And again, I want to commend the police officers. Even under attack, you have kept your cool, you have kept your patience, you have not moved into high gear and say zero tolerance. And that, I believe, is a good way. Yeah. And let us all do what we can. Our pastors must speak out more about that. Our parents have a role to play. Whether it's your boy or your girl is leaving home to go to an activity, remind them that there's a curfew. Remind them that they have to wear a mask. Remind them that COVID-19 is still very prevalent. But some of us as parents, we are not doing things proper ourselves, so it's very difficult for us to be able to teach and to be examples for our children. But we have to do better. Grenada to get better takes each and every one of us getting on board and doing better, irrespective of the government. When an election comes, you vote who you want to vote for. That is your right. But after that period is over, we have to work together as a people united to make our country a better place.
Yeah.
Yes?
Someone on the live is saying if there was any promoter involved, that person and whatever permission that has been granted should be carefully looked at.
Right. And having raised that person saying that, I think that should be, and that's me speaking, a conditionality for hosting some of these events. The host of the event should be vaccinated. Because why are we telling people that you need to be vaccinated if you want to get out there in a crowd, and we are not making it mandatory that the event promoters and those who want to have some of these events, not necessarily the one in Maribor, but whatever the event may be, you're not vaccinated?
Yeah.
That shouldn't be. But that's my view. Don't know how the committee and others will look at it. I was just about to say that we also have action happening, and good action over the weekend in terms of cricket.
Lovely cricket.
At our national stadium. Those who were vaccinated and able to buy the ticket, I saw some people there. I wasn't there. I chose not to go in either of the games. West Indies really went out and gave South Africa a whooping on Saturday. I mean, they really just, flourished.
And what happened Sunday?
Well, South Africa tell them, look, we were just putting you ahead of us to come back and gently. They didn't beat them rough. They just give them some gentle strokes. And let's see if the stroking will continue.
Mr. Bola, the worst banker in the whole world is the tabanca you could get from West Indies. I'm sorry to say. West Indies has given
What is tabanca?
Serious tabanca. Some stress.
Tabanca is stress?
Stress.
You sure?
Yes.
That's what it means?
Yes.
And what is tabang choke? Because I heard some people talking sometimes, well, they're not tabanca, you have the tabang truck or tabang tractor. That means when you are more stressed? Okay. All right.
When the
well, I ain't going to take no tabanca from West Indies, right? Because
West
I think
Indies has fluctuate like blood pressure. I can't deal with it.
Yeah,
it's too
but you
much.
should try to keep your blood pressure normal. The weather is what can fluctuate whenever it wants. So I would rather say they fluctuate like that. But on another note, our sister,
Yes.
Alexandra Otwin-Noel, she is going through it.
Yes, she is.
It's only a couple of weeks ago we had to say here
About 2
our
weeks.
empathies to her, sympathy on the passing of her father. And I learned over the weekend that her mother eventually passed now.
Yes.
So it's like a double whammy for her.
Yeah.
Sister Alexandra, our heart goes out to you. We pray and hope that you would have the strength to face it. But maybe, just maybe, it might be better that way. That you just deal with all of the grief and sorrows and things all at once, bury them together, and then you don't have to think down the line few years. Well, Daddy went 2 years ago now, Mommy on sick bed. I don't know. That's just my feeling. But it's a difficult time. It has to be. I mean, there's no easy way to describe it. And we said, may the Lord be with you. May you have the strength to face it. But your mother and father now has passed. And I don't think the dad isn't buried as yet.
No, not yet.
I know the mom has passed. So,
on
behalf of all of us, sympathies to your sister Alexandra Noel.
We have another caller on the line. Hello, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, caller. You're breaking up a little bit. What's causing that?
Yeah, that would have to be on his end.
I tried to get away. I walked away.
Okay.
Away perhaps.
Right, it's a little better now. You're a little clearer now, yes.
Okay, good, wonderful. Yeah, I heard about the incident that took place with the police and so forth.
Yes.
And I'm glad that the police were able to hold their hand and not, demand the respect.
Yes.
So, in that sense, somebody sent a video to me over the weekend too. In fact, two, stating that Kit Mitchell is a dictator and so forth, and Kit Mitchell don't want people to go to work if they're not vaccinated. They can't walk in Grenada, and what can I think of Grenada? Person to me, I asked the question, which place in Grenada is happening? I said, well, I don't know. Somebody said it. I said, but no, that video came from America.
Yeah.
That video came from America, and I think the whole issue here has been pushed the same way that Donald Trump been pushing his issue from the United States.
Yeah.
I think the same kind of attitude we are trying to develop here, which is very, very unfortunate. And I don't think Grenadians should, to put themselves under that kind of situation. You know, I think we need to go better than that. You know, it's not Donald Trump running Grenada now. Grenadians, that's running Grenada.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome, my brother. Thank you for your comment. We do accept. People sometimes just make all kinds of statements and assertions and so without at all evaluating what they're saying or what they're writing, because as we say, what's the motive? Once it suits their purpose, once they can get their message out, they don't care whether there's any truth to the message or not, and that we have to be very careful with. So, you know.
Almost about our time is winding down, but before we close, I do have to give the fogging schedule for this week. On Monday, they're going to be in today,
Birch Grove, Castine area.
Yep. Yeah. And then on Tuesday, and that's all of this is happening at 5 in the afternoon. They'll be at Maribor, including SAB. On the 30th, they'll be in Bylands, and on July 1st, which is Thursday, they will be in Grand Bras. So please keep in mind, if you have any respiratory conditions that you would want to vacate the area while this is happening, please ensure that people in the area, that your windows and doors are open so that the fog can enter your homes and drive out any unwanted critters from that area. We have another caller on the line, and that would be our last caller for the morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Mr. Bola.
Good morning.
And how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, my dear.
I could hear it from your voice.
Okay, that's good.
I'm just sitting here and enjoying your program.
Well, thank you for that. I hope that we're making sense to you.
Congratulate Mr. Victor Philip.
Yes.
On his house-to-house, which is doing very well.
Great.
And this is what the people would like to see.
Yes.
And then beating up on the young people very, very hard.
Yeah.
I think you need a little bit more support, but at least we did.
Yes.
And we all as NNP should join together and help him walk the drum.
Yes.
For the betterment of this country and the people. But Mr. Philip, I would like you to say to you, continue that good job. Because you're doing very, very well.
That's good to hear.
Yes, he's doing very well, and I thank him very much. And as I said to him, just continue drinking a little bit of water whenever you touch dry. and everything will be all right. And you know the road is tough, but don't worry. We'll be getting there soon.
Yes.
As long as we put hats together, because we all are NNP.
Yes,
and
we
as
are.
long as we call ourselves NNP and we don't want to lose, we have to get them to do that job.
That job, yes.
And we will do a job well done. Don't worry.
Thank you.
So I would like to congratulate him. And Bello, stay tight and we're there with you, boy.
All right, ma'am.
Bye-bye.
All right. Take good care. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yes.
And as we come to an end, you know, I just want to remind us all and to say thank you for all of those who participated. If you were able to get in with your call, whatever your comments may have been, we do always appreciate hearing from you. We hope that the incident, like what happened over the weekend, that we will not see a continuance of that really and truly that people are going to, you know, understand that it is not normal times. It is COVIDious times, and whatever regulation is being put in place, it's not to affect one individual or a group of individuals. It is about trying to create an environment that is safe and secure for all Grenadians. And so we have to abide by the laws. We have to understand. We have to read more, listen more, speak more about what is happening so we'll get a better understanding, so that we don't get so riled up and allow other people and their statements to affect us in such a way that will attack law enforcement officers. It is not a good thing. We should not encourage it. None of us should encourage it. It doesn't matter where you stand politically, who you follow politically or religiously. It is not a good thing. The police officers have a duty to perform. I want to encourage them as well to continue to be patient and tolerant and to use as much skill as they possibly can to always de-escalate every situation that they have to approach. And please do not let the attack on them cause them to resort to zero tolerance, as some people say. The law will have to take its course. If you can find those who are the perpetrators, of course, justice must be done for everyone, and everyone should have an opportunity to the justice that is available and should not be denied of it. I want to wish every one of you a really enjoyable Monday afternoon. We were happy to be with you. We are happy to be giving you information. Please stay safe, stay secure, and always act responsibly in whatever you're going to do, whether you're going to say it or you're going to act it, because at the end of the day, your actions will define who you are and what you can become. Have a safe Monday afternoon, everyone.
All right, guys, and we have come to the end of our program here for today. And as we say here every day, in whatever you say and whatever you do, be safe and be secure. We always want to be talking with you, but we do not ever want to be talking about you. So please do enjoy the remainder of your day. Thanks for viewing.